tell us about where Taylor is right now physically?
You know, he had some off-season stuff. I don't really want to talk about injuries, but I'm excited to get him back. He'll be back here shortly. He really worked hard this summer, maybe too hard. I don't know if there's such a thing, but I think there is with him. He's really growing up, so I'm excited about getting him back. But I think what's best about this situation is that we're having to find out who our next guy is going to be. And so we've been having an up and down situation so far where we've made some real good strides and then we've taken some strides back. So the next 10 days are real important for who's going to be our backup and where we're going from there.
In his absence, were you pleased with what Lambo was able to do, especially with the lights on at Kyle Field this weekend?
Yeah, he actually did well in practice the day before. He went 5 for 5. He hit like a 53. Then he got into Kyle Field and missed the 2 field goals.
So
and then Saris came back and hit the other 2. And, you know, guys step up in opportunities, and it's a game situation type thing. And Saturday will be very important for those 2. But Lambo's leg's a little stronger. He kicked off really well yesterday. So I anticipate in the meantime that will be something that for sure he will be taking the lead on. And then field goal-wise, it's going to be who steps up the next 10 days.
Any concern whether Taylor will be ready on the 31st?
No, not at all.
What have you been able to see and evaluate so far in terms of the punt return game?
Yeah, really good strides. Sabian Holmes done a great job. He had a really good spring at it. He had a couple things in Kyle Field on some scrimmages like Friday Night Lights where he did fumble the ball or drop the ball once or twice, which is part of the growing process. He come out here and he's been unbelievable for 10 days catching punts. So I'm excited to kind of see him in the action. We put Laquiviante and Sebastian because we thought as young guys, those 2 were probably the most promising youth punt returns we had, so we want to put him out there in front of everybody the other night, and Sebastian really stepped up, so he's going to definitely be in that mix as far as, you know, a backup role as he continues forward. But in the future, you know, I would look for him too. Devontae Harris has done a really nice job. I think we all feel pretty confident with him and his ability after he catches it. I think that's part of it too. And then we've got a couple other guys I think in the background that can catch.
Is Trey still your go-to guy as a kick returner, or are there other options you're looking at kickoffs as well?
Yeah, there is, you know, but Trey has got the experience, and we all know that matters, especially in this conference. I think Laquiviante has a real shot. I mean, he's got a real chance to be in the things that we do in the return game. I think he can really highlight some of that. He's got great speed. It's a real good place for freshmen, like Trey last year, to kind of get their feet wet without having to have a huge responsibility and knowing a lot of stuff. We're going to have Ben back there. We're going to have Trey back there, 2 veteran-type guys that are physical. They get kicked the ball, they can return it just as well as someone else. So I think if you put a freshman back there, you got to have a veteran to make some decisions and to help that guy out, lean on him a little bit for experience because, hey, you know, those are the only 2 guys out there on the field when they kick it off. Coaches aren't on the field telling them what to do. So that guy's there as a coach, and I think we all know Ben's got that leadership.
Do you see Ben playing in a whole bunch of special teams, a lot like he did last year where he was starting at running back but still playing on a lot of kickoffs?
No doubt. Ben's a warrior. Ben's a guy that, you know, we won't be the same special teams group if he's not playing from a leadership standpoint, from an effort standpoint, and then he's at point of attack on a lot of things. Now, we all got to be smart in our decision making. That'll be something I sit down with Coach Sumlin and kind of talk about as we move forward after Sunday. But it's going to be hard. He's a really dynamic special team player. But when he's, you know, if he's in a game and he's in the third quarter, he's getting a bunch of carries, then I got to have someone behind him. So what I've done is try to build that depth throughout the camp for the next guy behind a Ben Molina or behind a Steven Jenkins or someone that we think is going to have a big role in the game on offense or defense.
You see Cam kind of improving since the spring. Can you talk about his progress?
Yeah, Cam is had a heck of a summer, and his conditioning and his cardio has come light years from the spring. I mean, he was barely able to get through routes on air last year, the first 20 minutes of practice. And now, he's not even breathing right now. So, and then as a blocker, him and Nehemiah Hicks have really blossomed the last 5 to 7 days. I mean, they are much more physical than they've been. And they're going against some good players on the other side, so that's helping us get better. So Cam's development has been very accelerated, but Nemo's has probably been more. I mean, he's come out and he's been a dominant blocker as a guy who maybe isn't as big as Cam. He's really played well, so he's done a nice job too.
How often do you think we'll see 2 tight ends?
I think it'll depend on game plan stuff. I mean, it's just hard to tell. You know, we have so many receivers, and we've got to continue to get depth there and experience. And as we continue to move through the passing game, I think in this offense you've seen a lot of different bodies come in and out of the lineup. But those 2 guys can catch well too. So it'll just depend on the opponent, what their weakness is, and that kind of stuff.
Someone has mentioned that you guys saw a lot of increased depth because of the recruiting class when it comes to special teams. Are there particular guys especially from the incomers that have stepped up in terms of coverage teams or places you're using?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a lot of them. And so what's hard for me is we've got some speed in the veteran group of juniors and seniors and some really talented players. And then we've got all these young guys. And so I'm trying to build it where there's a veteran starting and then there's a rookie that's backing them up so they continue to learn throughout this camp, because sooner or later they're going to be taken over, because we can't have all veterans starting and all the guys starting offense and defense playing 4 special teams. I think Sean Washington or Washington and Wiggins, they're both really good right now and playing well. They got banged up today. I think Darian Claiborne has shown that he can do a lot of different things. I'm excited about him. Noel Ellis shows on defense and on special teams what he's doing. Garner has shown a lot of flashes lately, and Victor Davis has also done some good things too. Mastro would be the bigger guy inside that I think will play in some core stuff as well.
You talked in the spring how big Kaiser's leg is. It's all about consistency. You're starting to see more consistency from him.
Yeah, definitely. And he's still getting used to the get out on Kyle Field deal, and so that's great because he's had a tremendous week this week. He was really good the first week. He got into Kyle Field, had a bad first one, and then averaged over 58 yards a punt on the next 3. So there's some things there that other people just can't do. I mean, he's hitting 65, 70-yard punts on the regular out here. Even today he did. So my challenge is kind of how we're going to cover that far. So that's a good challenge, but he's that good right now. If he's got to maintain some consistency, he's working on his hang time, and I'm excited about him. He's probably been the best specialist.
That's why you guys recruited so much speed, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah.
Across the board, from you talk kicking and returner, are you pleased with your special teams across the board the way they are standing in camp right now?
Yeah, I am. I'm not worried. I'm confident about this group, but we do have a lot of specialists that haven't played. And so that's my challenge, is how do I do that in practice? How do we do that as a staff? Put these guys in position without getting them hurt live. And so that's what we're doing. We're trying to be creative with having people in front of those returners, having people rushing the kick without everybody being on top of each other. But until the Rice game, it's going to be hard for me to be completely confident until I see it in action. But we got some guys, and we're only going to get better. I know that. I know once Rice comes and they get their feet wet and they start getting some experience, we're going to have a good season on special teams.